येन तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. Hare Krishna everyone. I will continue reading chapter 20th of Prabupada Lilamrita. Hey Arabs! Exclaimed one heckler, who began imitating what he thought was an Eastern dance. No one on the street knew anything about Krishna consciousness, nor even of Hindu culture and customs. To them, the Swamis entourage was just a bunch of crazy hippies showing off, but they did not quite know what to make of the Swami. He was different. Nevertheless, they were suspicious. Some, however, like Irving Halfon, a veteran Lower East Side resident, felt sympathetic toward this stranger who was apparently a very dignified person on a peaceful mission. Irving Halfon. A lot of people had spectacularized notions of what a Swami was, as though they were going to suddenly see people lying on little mattresses made out of nails and all kinds of other absurd notions. Yet here came just a very graceful, peaceful, gentle, obviously well meaning being into a lot of hostility. Hippies. What are they, communists? While the young taunted, the middle aged and elderly shook their heads or stared, cold, uncomprehending. The way to the park was spotted with blasphemies, ribald jokes, and tension, but no violence. After the successful Kirtana in Washington Square Park, Prabhupada had regularly been sending out parades of 3 or 4 devotees chanting and playing hand cymbals through the streets and sidewalks of the lowest east side. On one occasion, they had been bombarded with water balloons and eggs, and they were sometimes faced with bullies looking for a fight, but they were never attacked, just stared at, laughed at, or shouted after. Today, the ethnic neighbors just assumed that Prabhupada and his followers had come onto the streets dressed in outlandish costumes as a joke, just to turn everything topsy turvy and cause stays and halls. They felt that their responses were only natural for any normal, respectable American slum dweller. So it was quite an adventure before the group even reached the park. Swamiji, however, remained unaffected. What are they saying? He asked once or twice, and Brahmananda explained. Prabhupada had a way of holding his head high, his chin up, and he walked forward. It made him look aristocratic and determined. His vision was spiritual, and he saw everyone as a spiritual soul, as Krishna, as the controller of everything. Yet, aside from that, even from a worldly point of view, he was unafraid of the city's pandemonium. After all, he was experienced Calcutta man. The Kirtana had been going for about 10 minutes when Swamiji arrived, stepping out of his tight rubber slippers, just as if he were home in the temple. He sat down on the rug with his followers, who had now stopped their singing and were watching him. He wore a pink sweater and around his shoulder a khadi wrapper. He smiled, looking at his group, and he indicated the rhythm of counting 1, 2, 3. Then he began clapping his hands heavily as he continued counting 1, 2, 3. And Kartalas followed, as at first with wrong beats, but he kept the rhythm by clapping his hands, and then they got it, clapping hands, clashing cymbals artlessly to a slow, steady beat. He began singing prayers that no one else knew. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Pada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamcha. His voice was sweet like the harmonium, rich in the nuances of Bengali melody. Sitting on the rug under a large oak tree, he sang the mysterious Sanskrit prayers. None of his followers knew any mantra but Hare Krishna, but they knew Swamiji, and they kept the rhythm, listening closely to him while the trucks rumbled on the street and the conga drums pulsed in the distance. As he sang Sri Rupam uh, Sagrajatam, the dogs came by, kids stared, a few mockers pointed fingers. Hey, who is that priest man? But his voice was a shelter beyond the clashing dualities. His, his voice went on ringing cymbals while he sang alone Sri Radha Krishna Pada. Prabhupada sang prayers in praise of Srimati Radharani's pure conjugal love for Krishna, the beloved of the gopis. Each word, passed down for hundreds of years by the intimate associates of Krishna, was saturated with deep transcendental meaning that only he understood. Saha Gana Lalita Shri Vishakanitamscha. They waited for him to begin Hare Krishna, although hearing him chant was exciting enough. More people came, which was what Prabhupada wanted. He wanted them chanting and dancing with him, and now his followers wanted that too. They wanted to be with him. They had tried together at the UN Ananda Ashram and Washington Square. It seemed that this would be the thing they would always do, go with Swamiji and sit and chant. He would always be with them chanting. Then he began the mantra Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. They responded, too low and muddled at first, but he returned it to them again, singing it right and triumphant. Again they responded, gaining heart, ringing kartalas, and clapping hands. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Again he sang it alone, and they stayed, hanging closely on each word, clapping, beating cymbals, and watching him looking back at them from his inner concentration. His old age wisdom, his bhakti, and out of love for Swamiji, they broke loose from their surroundings and joined him as a chanting congregation. Swamiji played his small drum, holding its strap in his left hand, bracing the drum against his body, and with his right hand playing intricate mridanga rhythms. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. He was going strong after half an hour, repeating the mantra, carrying them with him as interested onlookers gathered in greater numbers. A few hippies sat down on the edge of the rug, copying the cross-legged sitting posture, listening, clapping, trying and chanting, and the smaller inner circle of Prabhupada and his followers grew as gradually more people joined. I'll stop here. And my realization from today's reading is um, Prabhupada and some of his followers are on the way to the park, and there were many strangers. And Prabhupada was dressed with a pink sweater and khadi wrapper over his shoulder. And for the people on the street, Prabhupada and his followers looked strange. Some young people taunted, some people made jokes, but Prabhupada kept walking with his followers, with his head held high. And Prabhupada already had sent his followers to the park ahead of time, so to set up the place with rugs, and they were doing kirtan. And then Prabhupada came, sat down, and taught them the rhythm of Kartal. And then Prabhupada started to sing the prayer Vandeham Shri Guru, and no one knew this mantra. And in the park, there were many musicians roaming, and they came and joined with their instruments. And Prabhupada started the Kirtan of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Then the others joined with the cymbals, flutes, and other instruments. And Prabhupada had small mridanga while he was singing. And it is all about the struggles Prabhupada had. And he finally became successful and triumphant. Okay, thank you. And I'll go